Evie Leroux here. So my overall theme is presenting on the concept of arts-based strategies in a translanguaging, multilingual, multimodal concept. So the article is called MoNa, aka Sad Girl, a multilingual, multimodal critical discourse analysis of music videos of a Japanese Chicana rap artist. Okay, it's a fascinating article. I'll include it along with some other links to her music videos, which I also have introed with and will end with as well. Okay. Take two on this recording since my first one didn't work out so well. I once again use the brain as my mind map or conceptual map for this article. I just mentioned the title of the article. It's split up into 5 different components: introduction, background, relevant research, analysis of music videos of MoNa, aka Sad Girl, and conclusion. There are several key terms that I want to address, and that is globalization of hip hop, Japanese Chicano rap, MoNa, aka Sad Girl, multilingualism, multimodal critical discourse analysis, and super vernacular. All right, so introduction. Since its emergence in the 1970s in the Bronx, New York hip hop has become a worldwide phenomenon, particularly in language, culture, identity, and ideology. As a global youth culture with 4 components, i.e. rapping, DJing, breakdancing, and graffiti, the globalization of hip hop is characterized by multicultural syncretism that results from cross-cultural interaction, synthesizing the global with the local in a process of globalization. A growing body of social linguistic studies on the globalization of hip hop focuses on multilingual lyrics as emblematic of super diversity as well as hybrid identities. There is a global spread of Chicano rap, which is a subgenre of hip hop. And while it shares a lot of the same things, it has its own characteristics. Okay, so although I did used to live in New York and I have met several, I've been honored to meet several of the original hip hop and graffiti artists of the day, because one of the artists I work for created the first hip hop documentary ever called Wild Style. When I was working in the jails in California, that's really where I gained my understanding and knowledge of kind of this hip hop ideology and graffiti wild style like persona. And so what is definitive about West Coast hip hop is that it has kind of like this mix of Spanish and English, Spanglish, and this type of cholo and visual iconography that indexes Chicano nationalism and Mexicanidad. So interestingly enough, one of the countries where Chicano rap has developed a very strong presence is Japan. Hence, why MoNa, aka Sad Girl, is kind of like the focus of our study. So in this paper, the author examines the case of MoNa, aka Sad Girl, a Japanese rapper who performs in a Chicano rap style, mixing not only English and Japanese, but also Spanish and Cholo. And she incorporates this Chicana iconography and Cholo style with Japanese contexts. The study focuses on an analysis of several of MoNa's music videos, including a focus on song lyrics, visual imagery, and film techniques in the videos. Secondary data comes from comments about the videos on social media, and the contrary to it, articles published online about the artist, and a Skype interview done on May 4th, 2016, as well as a follow-up email communication by the author with the artist on November 2016. Lastly, the study analysis ways in which MoNa's body of videos express how her hybrid identity is negotiated and conveyed through her use of the interplay of several semiotic modes. Another thing to note is that the author also considers how MoNa has both adopted and adapted the language and other semiotic symbols and themes associated with the Chicano rap genre to the local Japanese context. It looks into the authenticity as a global Chicano rapper, which sheds light on an ongoing controversy and debate about hip hop. And some of these things are cultural appropriation, authenticity, violence, and the representation of women. Finally, in adopting a combined sociolinguistic and multimodal critical discourse analysis, this inquiry considers what the use of linguistic, visual, and musical features reveal about underlying ideological issues, specifically regarding competing discourses of Chicano nationalism and Chicano feminism, along with Japanese homogeneity versus multiculturalism and multilingualism versus monolingualism versus multilingualism. We then get into the background of where this whole article takes place, and it first establishes the globalization of Chicano rap and the lowrider culture, which then leads into MoNa, aka Sad Girl. And one thing that I just want to emphasize is how MoNa kind of got her identity. So she originally got this kind of portrayal. It's a character that she's representing. And this character is from a movie called Mi Vida Loca, or My Crazy Life, which is about girl gangs in East Los Angeles. And she specifically represents a character in the film called Sad Girl. It then goes into relevant research, and there are several components that the author dives into: cultural and media studies approaches to music video analysis, social linguistics of globalization and hip hop, multimodal and CDA approaches to music video analysis, bringing it all together, overlapping features across disciplines, and research questions and analytical framework. And I just want to go over those 5 questions that the author proposes in this article. The first one asks, what is the attraction of Chicano rap for a Japanese artist such as MoNa, aka Sad Girl? To what extent do MoNa's videos either reinforce or challenge stereotypes of Chicanos? How does MoNa reconcile the dominant discourses of Chicano nationalism with a Chicana feminist message? What is the meaning of authenticity in the context of global Chicano rap and global hybrid identity? And lastly, to what extent does MoNa, as a Japanese artist, disrupt prevailing notions of the role of women in Chicano rap, Japanese hip hop, and Japanese society as a whole? All right. Then the article goes into an extensive analysis of music videos. MoNa's adoption and adaptation of Chicano rap can be viewed from the perspective of Japanese society's relationship vis-a-vis, or the other, and contrasting discourses of homogeneity, also known as Nihonshiron, or theories of Japaneseness, multiculturalism and globalization, and monolingualism and multilingualism that have been addressed in studies of Japanese hip hop, as well as contemporary Japanese cinemas, education, and government policies. MoNa's portrayal of Chicano culture reflects changing attitudes among young urban Japanese who see diversity as highly desirable. While MoNa's videos are not overtly political, she herself refers to her multilingual lyrics as playful. Her use of a Chicano rap super vernacular, encompassing language, visual iconography, and music, nevertheless reveals an underlying hybrid identity that is transgressive, embraces linguistic and cultural diversity, and that challenges the concept of Japan as a monolingual, homogeneous nation and rejects both nationalistic tendencies within the Nihonronjion discourse in hip hop, as well as a superficial or depthless, uncritical imitation of Chola style. MoNa's depiction of others in her videos represent a troubling of identity through her mixed use of linguistic and semiotic resources. Rather than reinforcing one-dimensional stereotypes of Chicanos, her videos, like her films, create what Homi Babha refers to as the third space, which become the site of negotiation, struggle, and resistance, both internal and external, with her fans and critics, which contributes to a new hybrid identity that is always in flux. And I just want to kind of interject there, because yesterday, with my socio-political context presentation, I addressed the third space. And I neglected to kind of reinforce that a third space can only be itself without this sense of conflict. And so that's what she is doing. She's like holding all of these positive and negative things together in order for it to have this sense of identity. By means of her multilingual lyrics, multimodal imagery, and eclectic music, MoNa creates a hybrid identity that is in the constant process of syncretizing and mixing through local, global, multi-directionality. Despite her own imitation of Chola style, MoNa's lyrics, videos, and commentary reflect a critique of this prevalence of simulacrum in Japanese culture, evident in the J-Chola Gyaru fashion trend. She seeks to differentiate herself from the more fetishistic, inauthentic aspects of this emergent multicultural aesthetic by portraying an authentic version of herself and of Chicana-o and Chola-o culture, and making clear to her fans merely dressing like a Chola is not enough to understand the struggles that Chicanos have been through. I'd also like to note this word, the fetishistic, that specifically plays into the ideology of Asian culture and how Asian women are objectified as well. So not only is she kind of trying to defend herself within this Chicana Chola representation, but she's also trying to defend herself within this judgment that is being put on her as a fetish as well. So I think that's an interesting dichotomy that's being played. Finally, the study represents or suggests a broader application of a genre-based approach combining sociolinguistic and multimodal critical discourse analysis to examine issues of identity and ideology, authenticity, and cultural appropriation in a range of popular cultural texts. So there you have it, folks. I found this to be a very, very interesting article. I really just skimmed the top of it and what it does. I think what's most interesting about this article is actually really diving deep into her lyrics and kind of how she plays around with her music videos and her visual representation and how it all kind of mixes together. So I hope you do take some time and opportunity to read the article, but I know for me, it will highly influence my studies. And as I mentioned yesterday with my sociopolitical context presentation, this is the ideal representation of what I am asking of my students to do in their projects. And I'm hoping that they will use this artist as inspiration for them to kind of come out of their shells and to kind of language and use their multiple cultures in this sense of understanding the classroom environment of which I hold. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you later.